Hey, Revolutionaries. I'm excited to kick off 2024 with this week's episode, and I can't wait for you guys to check it out where I'm digging into finishing strong. It's my mantra for 2024, and so maybe it'll be yours too. We'll see. But all I know is that it's cold. It's like 8 degrees outside here in northern part of the U.S. in northeast Ohio here, and it's time for me to head south and get warm soon. And just a reminder, I will see you all for PodFest in Orlando, Florida. See January 24th to the 27th or 28th, somewhere around in there for those days. Anyways, I'll be down there for the show. If you're down there, let's hang out, get in touch, and maybe we can talk about reinvention. All right, let's get right to the episode.
Welcome to JimJim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, the show that explores reinvention in the digital age as it relates to career, creativity, and technology. Stay tuned for interviews with professionals, entrepreneurs, and creatives that have reimagined success and are making a pivot. If you'd like to listen to the entire back catalog, visit JimJim'sReinventionRevolution.com for instant access. And now, here's your host, JimJim.
Hey everybody, hey, this is JimJim, and welcome to episode 112 of JimJim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. And it's 2024. Yes, indeed, it's 2024. So happy New Year, everybody. It's a new year, a brand new year, and it's about halfway through the month. And by now, what I'm thinking is that anyone who's been writing checks, in the beginning of the year, should be past the point of writing 2023 on their checks. Assuming that you're writing checks anymore. I actually can't remember the last time I wrote a check. Maybe last year when I paid my taxes. But I guess I'm remembering that is a thing, and I'm thinking about the timing of when this episode is getting released, and it's a little bit later than usual. If I'm being honest here, then I like to release it, a new podcast for the new year. So we're a little bit into the month, and I have to confess, honestly, that over the last couple weeks, I've been anxiety-ridden about releasing this and recording it a little bit later than I'd like to have had. But because of that, it got me thinking about last year, this time of year last year, when, I always like to travel around the first year, kind of, see the sun a little bit, because this time of year gets very cloudy and dark and gray up here in northeast Ohio. And by kind of like holiday time, I can't take it anymore. Through the fall is beautiful, but by holiday time, I can't take it more. So I like to be out of town. Last year I was in New Orleans for a minute before I recorded the kickoff episode. This year I didn't get to go out of town. I've just been busy and distracted, and some family health issues mixed in there that have kind of just distracted me from getting things done, but getting it done today. But what it did was make me reflect a little bit on 2023, how I kicked 2023 off, and what happened during 2023, and how I think it's going to contrast in comparison to 2024 going forward. And the reason I say that was 2023 was a very busy year for me at the beginning of the year. And I feel this year maybe it's not going to be as busy, but I feel like this is how 2024 is going to go, that it's not how you start, it's how you finish. So I feel that my approach to this year is going to be really different from last year. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today is 5 steps to finishing strong. 5 steps to finishing strong. And it's really a contrast to what happened last year. Excuse me for a second. Okay, I thought I was going to sneeze there. Anyways. But before we get into it, I want to welcome new listeners that are listening for the first time out there. Welcome to JimJim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. And I want to welcome back listeners that have been around, that have found the podcast or shared an episode with friends, family out there. Welcome back to listening to the JJRR show here. Thanks for sticking around. And for those new listeners, if you're listening for the first time, this is a solo episode, usually, which I like to do to kick off the year. But usually I do interviews with people reimagining success in the rapidly changing digital world. So stick around for more interviews coming in 2024. So stick around for that. Anyways. Okay. And also, before we get started, one more thing. If you haven't checked it out yet, and if you haven't heard about it yet, check out Magic Mind. Okay, the productivity shot, magicmind.com. It's got matcha, adaptogens, nootropics, and immunity. It's the new rage. It's the new thing. And it's got 4 of these active ingredients in one shot, in one small shot. So it's just a couple ounces. And I've been checking it out the last few months since I have a partnership with them. You'll get a discount if you go to magicmind.com/Jim Cirillo, JimCirillo. Check it out. Order up a pack. Comes in a package of 15 little bottle shots, and it's really great. It's really great for getting you focused and productive. Kind of gives you this strange, urgent feeling of what else can I get done today? Maybe I'll do the dishes, and the dishes have been sitting around for a week. I mean, it's really strange how it works, but it keeps you focused, and it doesn't give you the jitters where a high dose of caffeine would give you jitters. Speaking of caffeine, give me 1 second here. Oh, caffeine is so good, though. Anyway, so check that out, and I'll remind you at the end of the episode where you can go to find it, find links for it. But I just wanted to mention that again. Okay, so let's talk about 2023 and 2024. So what my experience of 2023 was, and see if this resonates or jives with anyone. At the beginning of the year last year, it felt like 23 was full on. 2023 was full on. So if you think back kind of a couple years, 2020's pandemic year, 2021, we're still kind of dealing with masks and what that whole thing was and whatever. And starting in the, I think fall of 2021 into 2022, I feel 2022 was like a transition year where I felt I was starting to get back out in the world, and starting to have some gigs again and starting to be myself, but I wasn't doing a lot of traveling yet. And by the fall of 2022, I went to Costa Rica in September. And I thought, you know what, I need to get back out on the road. I want to test the waters of traveling internationally. So I went somewhere a little closer. It was great. It was a great trip. Glad I did it. But that really sort of kickstarted me coming into 2023. And when 2023 started, it was full on. So it was like full on travel for me again, full on gig schedule for me again. Everything had really opened up. And it just kind of seemed like it went from like 2 to 3 to 10 or 11. And so I was traveling, by May, I had traveled to 4 different international destinations all over the world. So I was in Southeast Asia, Thailand, and Bali, and came back for like, I don't know, maybe 48 hours. I might have been shorter. Turned around, went to Cuba, just how my schedule was working. Went to Cuba for 10 days, intense music trip down there. Came back just for a few weeks, and then turned around and went to Israel for 10 days, intense 10 days. Luckily, before all the war had broken out. And then when I got back, I was slammed with gigs, slammed with having to practice because I was traveling for a few months and wasn't in shape. Had to get back in shape playing wise, and all kinds of gigs with all different people that everybody else was getting out there and playing again. So I had to learn tons of different types of music, tons of gigs, whatever. And by the end of the year, end of 2023, I was so busy the whole year with just traveling and then gig, that by August, September, I started to not take gigs, turning down a few gigs in November and December last year, just because it's like I need a break. I felt like I was pulled in many different directions, too many, playing with too many new groups all the time, and so I felt like I needed to chill out. And so that brings us to 2024, and I feel like I'm still kind of in that mode. And thinking back about 2023, about how everything just went full on all of a sudden. I don't know if anyone's feeling the same way out there. I feel 2024 is going to be a different year, first of all, in terms of my approach to it. But I was, kind of anxiety-ridden again, just thinking like, man, I wish I would have got myself together to release this episode earlier for the year, to kick off the year. But it's just where I'm at. And so I just thought about this phrase, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I think that's what's going to apply to 2024 for me and maybe others that are listening out there. And so I dug up 5 steps for a strong finish that I wanted to go over today with everyone. So hopefully that will motivate you and keep you moving. Just kind of dig into that concept for a second. But also, before we get there, I wanted to talk about maybe some downside to starting too fast, which, I felt some of these things coming out of the gate last year, even though I loved how busy I was, I guess, after, sitting around not doing much for a couple of years there, the pandemic era. But let me go over a couple things here, just in terms of, thinking about 5 ways or reasons why starting fast can hurt you, right? And this could, apply to starting a business, starting a new relationship, learning an instrument, whatever it might be. And one is burnout. So definitely by the end of the year last year, I was feeling burnt out on just in a number of ways, just because I was just so busy. And so, travel takes it out of you, gigging takes it out of you. But, obviously it's clear that this can lead to burnout, both mentally and physically. It can fatigue you. It can, hurt your health. It can even decrease your motivation. You might get sick and tired of what you're doing, even though you love it. With me, I love playing music, so it's a rarity where I turn down a gig. But I just felt like, I got to get more focused, and I need some time to myself to start thinking about being more intentional, which I continue to work on. I'm sure it's probably an issue for a lot out there, but if you're more intentional, you can just gain more ground more quickly. And occasionally I forget that when I get too busy. So anyways, watch out for burnout. Another thing is, and I got another couple here, is watch out for having a lack of foundation and overlooking details of whatever it is you're getting into. So normally I would say, hey, if you're going to start something new, just get started. Don't procrastinate. You don't need to research too much. You don't need to, scope it out, whatever. Just dive right in. However, if it's, you have to think about the risks that whatever this new endeavor presents to you. Maybe it's risks monetarily. Maybe it's physical risk to your mental health, whatever it might be. If the risks are high, though, now you got to hey, let's step back here and figure this out. So you need to assess the risks of what it is you're doing. And in doing that, you got to think about what are the foundational skills and things I need to know about what I'm stepping into. And so, are you okay with spending $50,000 if you're going to, start a new business that you don't know anything about and might just lose it all? It's up to you whether that's a good risk or not. For most, that's probably not a good risk, but maybe it's like, hey, I'm willing to risk $1,500. Let's create a logo, a website, and get going. If you lose that money, that's fine. But as the money ramps up, as the risk gets higher, you may want to really think about wait a second, I do need to research a little bit. Let me scope this out a little bit, and let me get more in the weeds, more into the details, more into the actual steps that I need to execute on what I'm looking to do. So that's kind of the second big point here is, check out the foundation, what the risk level is, and what kind of details that you really do need to know, instead of just running too fast. And then, as you're running fast, you might be missing other opportunities. That's the third point I wanted to make, is, as you're getting into it, as your schedule fills up, you might not have time to, once you get into it and start seeing things more clearly, you might realize, oh my God, the big opportunity is over there, but I've already committed to these other things over here. Already ran fast and ran past the off-ramp to that opportunity because I was running too fast, and I didn't even see it until I got real close, and then boom, I zoomed right by it. So that's just a few things that, just reminding myself really, but reminding myself maybe where I was at all last year, because I hadn't traveled anywhere for a long time. I hadn't played gigs, hadn't done a lot of the things that gives me a lot of joy and, makes my life. And so I said yes to a lot of things last year. I said yes to going to Cuba, right? After a 30-hour journey back from Southeast Asia, I said yes to go to Cuba, like within, 36 hours after I got back. I think I was here like a day and a half, and then I had to get up at 3 a.m. on a Friday to catch the plane to Cuba. It was a little crazy, but I loved that I did it, though, and it was fun, super fun going. Anyways, so it's just something to think about is in terms of just starting too fast, I guess. Another thing I thought about was just thinking about this whole concept of starting too fast but finishing strong, and what needs to happen or what can happen, or how you might need to change your behavior as you go along here, of course. And I thought about, well, when you're running a race, okay, and you get out of wind real fast because you started out too fast, right? That's what we were just talking about. You start out too fast, and you're running like a marathon, but you run the first 3 miles, and you're too fast, and all of a sudden you're out of breath, and you're like, oh my God, you might even have to walk a little bit now because you just came out too fast. How do you get your second wind? There's this concept of a second wind out there, which I'm sure everybody's experienced, where it's like, man, I've already spent all day on this thing. I'm totally burnt out, but it's due in the morning, whatever this big presentation might be, or if you're studying for a test or whatever it might be, or a big customer order you got to get out, and you're totally burnt out. But then maybe you take a little break, you step away, and somehow you're refreshed. It's only 20 minutes later, or maybe 45 minutes later, but you seem totally refreshed, and you have your second win, and you can go again, and you go for another 10 hours. Now it's 4 a.m. It's like, so what? You got it done. You're energized even. It's hard to go to sleep now. Well, that happens. I know it's happened to me many times. And that's kind of an interesting way, again, to think about. For me, this year going forward, it feels like it's starting slow for me. But that's okay, because I know it's going to ramp up. And if I need to figure out ways to get a second wind as I'm going, here are a few things you can do to think about it. So one would be, obviously, take a break. Step away from the task at hand, right? Your current task, take a short break. Get up, change your state. Move around, put on some music, go for a quick walk, maybe meditate a little bit, just change it up. So that would be the first thing to maybe stimulate and get into that second wind more quickly. Another way you can do it would be to hydrate and maybe eat a little snack. So maybe you've worked so hard and didn't realize what was going on. And you really need some nourishment. So don't ever forget that. Make sure you're hydrating. Make sure if you need a snack, need some protein or need some carbs, whatever it might be, some electrolytes, some nuts and fruit, whatever a good snack would be for you. Don't forget to eat, I guess, right? Let's see. Another way to maybe stimulate your second wind here would be to change your environment. So again, this could be in the moment where you're really burnt out on a specific task, or it could be, man, I'm burnt out on this job in general, or on this relationship in general, or on taking these lessons, for a skill in general. Change your environment. This is one I love, and that's why I go traveling at the beginning of the year, usually in the winter. Because changing your environment just provides a bunch of stipulations. It breaks up your patterns, breaks up your behaviors. So, get in the car and take a drive out to the park, whatever it might be, or go for a weekend away, or go to that international travel destination you've been dreaming about. Hit Central America or something, South America. Go to Europe. If you're in Europe, go to Australia. Whatever might be. I think that's a great one. Change your environment. Last couple here, in terms of just getting that second win again, is maybe reprioritize what you're doing. Sit back and assess and think like, now, wait a second, is this as important as I thought it was? It is still? Yeah, I got a deadline. Screw it. I got to get back into it. But that will refocus you. Or, you know what? I'm going to do this other thing in the meantime because it's not that important. And, once you kind of change and do something different, you'll get re-energized to go back to do that, maybe that boring thing that burnt you out in the first place. So think about reprioritizing what you're actually doing. And I got a fifth one here, and this is a good one that I wouldn't have thought about for myself necessarily. But with the help of ChatGPT, I must say, I came up with this one was connecting with others. So this is something I should probably do more, and I didn't. It wasn't at the top of my list in terms of, getting a second wind, reinvigorating yourself, getting excited about life or about your project or whatever it might be. Again, it's connecting with others. Those social interactions can give you a psychological boost. So reach out to a friend or colleague, family member, coach, whoever it might be. Just have a chat, talk to them, or ask them for advice or whatever it might be, or just go for a beer with someone, Hit the bar and see what's going on out in real life, and then head back to what you're into. Okay, so that was, ways to get a second wind as you're going here, as things ramp up or as you get too busy. And maybe I should have tried some more of these techniques in 2023 when I got busy before just shutting down and stop and not taking gigs and just saying like, hey man, I just need a freaking break. But hey, here we are in 2024 and going forward. I'm not going to worry about starting off the year slow. Like I said, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And before I get into these top 5 steps to finish strong, for a strong finish, I wanted to share a story with you guys that I hope you can relate to. It for me, it's super impactful, and it just it's amazing how motivating it is to me. And that is over the pandemic. I think it was 2021. So when people were starting to, the bars were starting to open and restaurants were starting to open again, and live music was starting to happen again. This is one of the things I like to do. There's a friend that I knew that they started a new jam night. I think it was on a Wednesday night. And it was at this place that was kind of a roadhouse style bar / restaurant. Kind of like a biker bar feeling, kind of a blues sort of bar place. A little rough around the edges, a little, not in the greatest part of town, I would say, but still a nice enough place, safe enough. But it's a place you go to relax and kick back a few and have fun and get loud, So it wasn't an elegant, sophisticated kind of place, and so they had a kind of blues rock jam night, really for any kind of music you wanted to play, kind of pop rock, blues type stuff, even some soul, R&B, whatever. But that was the type of band, so my friend was singing, so she's like, hey, you got to come out to this. So they were starting it new, so they wanted to get people out there, and I'm like, you know what? I've been sitting in my house for a year and a half or whatever it was. Yeah, I need to start getting back out there, even though I was a little bit shy to get back out there. But it was an open-air bar. I'm like, okay, cool. It's got an open patio. I'll go. So I brought my horn too. And again, just a reminder for new listeners, or a reminder for old listeners. So saxophone is my main instrument. So when I head out of the house, I bring that with me, especially for a jam night. So I thought I'll go out and sit in, play a couple tunes, which I did. And it was fun getting back out there again. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember how to do this. So having a community of other musicians is super fun to connect with always. But while I was out there, I ran into this guy that was there just hanging out, and he came up to me afterwards after I was playing. He's like, hey man, you sounded great, whatever. My name is Sully. His name's Sully. And he just started playing. He told me he had just started playing saxophone. I'm like, really? Wow, cool, man. And he brought his horn there that night. I'm like, awesome. And he plays alto. He had an alto sax with him. So I had my tenor with me. Tenor sort of fits into that style of music, genre of music a little bit better, in my opinion, sort of blues rock. I think of Clarence Clements and those kind of cats. So that's what I had with me that night. He had his alto, and he was talking to me about saxophone. He was just fired up about learning the saxophone. And he told me, hey, I just started. He literally had just started, like maybe within a month or two before, he just bought his horn and was just learning to play. And I was like, oh, wow, that's awesome, And he's out here at Jam Night, which is like, I played music for a long time, and I have some level of competency on the horn, Maybe others would beg to differ, but I still feel nervous going out in public and sitting in at a jam night where I don't know anyone and you don't know the musicians in the band and all that kind of stuff. This guy's just learning to play. He knows he's not very good, and he's willing to come out and do it. So that's a real sort of interesting open mind that you need to have, and courage that you need to have. So that was one thing that hit me right away, was like, wait, this guy's just learning, and he's here at jam night already. That's amazing. People play instruments for 10 years and are still afraid to go out to jam nights to get better. But he was focused on it. And I asked him, I said, well, why did you start to learn the saxophone? And here's the interesting thing. Here's what's really motivational, I would say, and kind of blew me away, is that Sully I think he's 73 years old. He's an old veteran, and he looks the part, and he's got like a leather vest on and roughed up jeans, and he's a big guy, kind of gregarious a little bit. He likes to make friends and talk, and super energized to be in his 70s. And he's like, well, I was out with friends the other night, and I was just thinking in my mind, like, this guy's in his 70s, and he's like out all the time. He's out at bars, and he doesn't act his age at all, which is great. And he said, well, I was talking to another friend of mine, and he got in my face the other week, I guess. It was just a few weeks ago. He just started doing this. And I kept telling him over the years that I always loved the saxophone, and I wanted to play the saxophone. And he had finally gotten my face, and I'm sure there were a few alcoholic beverages involved in this night. Anyways, he said he got in his face, and he said, look, man, it's time to put up or shut up. I've heard you talk about loving the saxophone, whatever. You want to play the saxophone. The time is now. It's now or never, MFer. Whoops. Maybe that's some editorial. I'm editorializing here, but I'm sure there were some expletives involved as well. But he really got in his face and said, hey, man, now's the time. It's now or never. You're in your 70s, dude. And I think for the first time, just the way to hear Sully describe it, like he heard it for the first time, actually heard it, and thought, oh, my God, yeah, now's the time. I'm doing this. I'm doing it. He's really going to do it. And he literally went out and bought a saxophone, had already started taking lessons. And he's got a new horn, when everybody starts on sax, they usually have an alto, so he had an old beat-up alto horn. And he was already taking lessons. He was taking lessons from guys I know in town, other saxophone players. I'm like, good for you, man. And so now usually how this goes is that someone gets fired up, and they start a new endeavor. And, a few weeks in, 6 weeks in, the horn is in a case in the closet, and it's collecting dust. And I'm sure, maybe people out there listening have had that experience or know someone who's done that, one of their friends. It's 2 years later now, 2024 now, I guess almost 3 years later. In the meantime, just maybe 6 months after that I met him, I heard he had bought a tenor sax. So he invested more money into this. And tenor sax fits in better with the music he's interested in playing and learning. He's still continuing his lessons. He's gotten so much better. When I first heard him, it was like, oh my God, this guy's rough. He didn't even know half the notes on the horn. I was telling him how to figure half the notes on the horn when I met him. Now he knows all the notes. Now his tone's super improved. I mean, when you first start playing, you don't have any control about your embouchure or your tone, and you usually have bad gear, like a bad mouthpiece, bad reeds, bad horn, nothing's great. He's improved so much and is stuck with it. And again, every time I see him out, he's super enthusiastic. He's super complimentary to all the other musicians that he knows are better around him. Super grateful that they open their arms, there and really pull him into the scene, which he's grateful for. Which being in your 70s and having a whole new scene open up around you, now being one of the musicians, if you've loved music your whole life, live music, now you're one, you can be on stage. I mean, it must be just kind of mind-blowing for him. Super motivational. But for me, it's this lesson in it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Just staying at it. Just staying with it, man. And just not giving into social pressure or your own fears or your own anxieties of like, but what if I'm not any good? What if I don't know how to do it? What if I can't do it? All my other friends think I'm insane. Or maybe that one friend who was, at least on your side said, hey man, just go do it. What are you waiting for? Hopefully we all have friends like that around us, but we don't always do, right? And he's a guy that's already kind of going against the grain because he's out and being social and stays out late at night and whatever, hangs out where, most people in their 70s probably aren't doing that. They're playing golf during the day and they just, stay close to their neighborhood at night, most likely. Anyway, so he's a different character and a super interesting, motivational. So I just want to share that story with you guys and maybe someone like him. But again, it's amazing. Whenever I think about that, I think like, whatever I'm working at, whatever I'm going to do, I need to keep rolling. I need to keep rolling at it. And so you got to finish strong. And he's in the middle, but he's not slowing down at all. He's ramping it up. And so that's what I love about him. Anyways, so here's finally these 5 steps that I dug up here. 5 steps or strategies, whatever, to finish strong, for a strong finish. And I want to give Sarah here a shout out. So Strategy Sarah. I don't know if you know her, but I was just kind of searching the internet and I thought she had a nice approach, a nice succinct way of describing how to finish strong. And so these are from her website, strategysarah.com. So I want to give you these 5, and then I got a quote I want to share with you guys. So one is to, recommit to your goal. Okay? And so this is the beginning of the year, and this is the time where people, maybe want to review their list of yearly goals, whatever, and think about them, and think about what's really important, and pick one. Focus on 1 or 2 maybe, right? If you write down 20, it's going to be hard to accomplish all of those. And obviously those 20 goals that you might write down, they're not equally important to you. There's really maybe 2 or 3 that are really the ones. It's like, I got to make some action. I got to make some movement on these this year. So that's step number 1. Recommit to your goal. What are you really trying to do? Remind yourself of that, right? And it's like, okay, let me recommit to this and see where it goes. Could be dropping weight, could be learning a new skill, learning more about, AI, whatever it might be this year. Recommit to it, okay? Okay. Number 2, make your action steps effort-driven, now not outcome-driven. Man, this is so true. It is so true when when you're learning an instrument, for example. That's one of the hardest things I think that you can do. Or learning a language, that's another one. Where it's like, I want to be a fluent speaker. And it's like, that doesn't happen overnight. And you got to stick with the process and just really enjoy the journey along the way. And if you enjoy the journey and you're consistent with what you're doing, magically, sort of 6 months later, it's like, oh, I'm having conversations now in that new language. Where, before there's no way you weren't even close to it. So that's always a great one, is to remember it's not about the outcome. It's about the effort and the process. If you just do the process and keep at it, the results will come. So that's number 2. Number 3, I think is a really great, interesting point, and that is to identify what you need to stop doing. So, of course, there's the positive part. I need to do more of this, do more of that, do it in this different way. But number 3 would be identifying, but what do I need to stop doing? Do I need to stop saying yes to everything? Do I need to stop hanging around with these friends that pull me in different directions? Do I need to, have less on my plate, less on my schedule? How are you going to get focused and finish strong in accomplish what's really important to you. So I really love that one. Identify what you need to stop doing. So that one's more interesting to me this year in 2024. I had a busy year last year. This year going forward, it's going to be how I finish strong and how I'm able to focus and being more intentional. Like I said, being more intentional, you can jump levels when you're more intentional versus just running all over the place. I really like that one. Number 4 would be to identify what you need to continue doing. So maybe you're doing just some great things and doing it the right way, and you're doing the things you want to be doing. And so honor that. Identify that. Make sure, like, you know what? This stuff over here I've been doing, I'm killing it. And I want to still kill it in the same way. So don't change that. Some things you don't want to change. And if you have a good routine and your diet's working or whatever it might be, make sure you keep doing those things. So yeah, recommit to your goals. Just a reminder here. Take action continually. Make it about the process, not about the outcome. Identify what you need to stop doing. Identify what you need to continue doing. That's the first 4. Last one here is identify what you need to start doing. Okay, but what do I need to start doing differently? Okay, so I'm recommitting. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to focus on the process. I'm going to continue doing the things that were working for me. Stop doing the things that didn't work for me. But what are the new things I need to start doing? What are those things? And this may be the bigger challenge, perhaps, because it's easy, the things you've done and always done or know you're doing wrong, you can identify those, you're familiar with them, whatever. The new things, this is where the anxiety and fear maybe comes into it, or imposter syndrome, whatever it might be. Well, that's not me. I can't do that. I've never done that before. Okay, you got to really think about this. What are you not doing currently that would make an impact towards your goal? Stay focused on what you're trying to do. Well, what's the 1 or 2 things that you have never done, maybe, that you need to start doing that would really have an impact on it? I love that one. So that's number 5. So those are the 5 things. Let me repeat them one more time, just so everybody, if you just tuned in or if you forgot them already and you're on the treadmill and you're like, what? Wait a second, I didn't hear that one. Here we go. Number 1, recommit to your goal. Remind yourself what it is. Stay focused on it. Number 2, make sure your action steps are effort-driven, not outcome-driven, right? Stick with the process. Stay focused on the process, not the outcome. Identify what you need to stop doing. That's number 3, right? Stop the bad habits. Number 4, honor and keep doing the things that are working. Identify what you need to continue doing. So stick with the program if the program's working. And number 5, identify what you need to start doing. Just think about it. Think harder about that last one, okay? That's right. Okay, so those are my 5 tips, and again, from strategysarah.com. Sounds funny, but strategysarah.com is your website. 5 steps to a strong finish to achieve your goals. So I really like that. So we're going to keep those in mind for 2024 here. And I was just, searching the internet here a little bit for just a little more motivation for the show here, or inspiration for the show here. And I just came across this quote from, let's see here, I think it's Gary Ryan Blair, who's a big, he's got his brand, 100-Day Challenge. He's a kind of coach, trainer, whatever, military, works on mindset and, helps people really accomplish their goals and perform high achievement kind of processes. His quote here, which I really like in regards to finishing strong, is finishing strong is an everyday occurrence, as there will never be a race, goal, day, quarter, or year that does not come to an end. This means finishing strong is not an act, it's a habit. Did you hear what I just said there? Oh, that hit me so hard when I first read this. This means that finishing strong is not an act, it's a habit. I'm going to read this whole thing again because this is, God, when you think about it, it sort of it kind of gets at me for some reason, makes me emotional. Finishing strong is an everyday occurrence, as there will never be a race, goal, day, quarter, or year that does not come to an end. So the year's going to end, your race is going to end, your goal is going to end. Either goal is going to end whether you achieve it or not, and it may change and go away. End of the day is coming, end of the quarter is coming. We're always coming to the end. There's always a reason to finish strong. There's always an expectation of finishing strong, because these things are always coming to an end. These things are always happening. There will never be a race, goal, day, quarter, or year that does not come to an end. This means that finishing strong is not an act, it's a habit. Wow. So I got to really remember that about in regards to whatever I'm doing, that, building in the habits to keep your mindset and your frame of reference in the right place, that, you know what, I'm not going to beat myself up for starting slow, but the way I'm going to remedy that, if I need to, is always finish strong. Always finish strong. Because that challenge is always going to be there. That's the point of this quote. Those challenges are there every day, at the end of every quarter, at the end of every year, that you need to finish strong. And so let's make it a habit. Let's not make it a one-off. I love that. So that's from, like I said, give people their due here, Gary Ryan Blair, 100daychallenge.com. So check him out. Oh, man, I don't know why that just gives me some kind of strange feeling inside. It really just makes me feel like I need to just honor that in everything I do. Anyways, hey, it's 2024, everybody. Thanks for listening. That's what I have for you today. Before I sign off here, I just wanted to remember, for those interested in priming your mind for reinvention, I have 7 simple ways to prime your mind for reinvention. That's my free download. If you go to the website, JimJim'sReinventionRevolution.com, download that for free. Sign up on the mailing list so you can get notified when new episodes come out. Also, if you're interested in Magic Mind, or if you're interested in buying me a coffee, because that helps support the show, which, again, I don't like support. I like you showing me love for the show. If you really like the show, if you love the show, if you have friends that love the show, buy me a coffee. It takes money and resources to pay for the hosting, pay for the some of the graphic designs, the stuff I offer on occasion, my time to put this together for everybody. This is not a money maker for me, okay? But I want to share and have you share in my reinvention. Hopefully that motivates you to keep thinking about the world as it turns and how you may get the best out of it for yourself on your journey. So go to the website, JimJim'sReinventionRevolution.com, sign up for the email list, and you'll get that automatic download, 7 simple ways to prime your mind for reinvention. Also, you can go to linktree.com and /JimJim99, and you'll find all the links there for the download, for the Buy Me a Coffee. It's Ko-Fi, Buy Me a Coffee, Ko-Fi, K-O-F-I. But go to linktree.com, linktree.com /JimJim99. You'll find all the links there. If you want to buy me a coffee, download the priming guide, or check out the latest episode, of course, and you'll find these podcasts wherever, quality podcasts are distributed. Anyways, hey, thanks for listening, guys. Stay tuned. The reinvention continues. I'm wishing everyone a great, amazing year, and go out there and finish strong. Finish strong. Thank you for listening to JimJim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more, join our mailing list at JimJim'sReinventionRevolution.com. See you next time, and remember, the revolution has just begun. So dig in, embrace the process of reinvention, and start realizing the success you've always dreamed of. Hey, revolutionaries, if you enjoyed today's episode and today's guest, let them know by commenting on their Facebook page, finding their Twitter handle or Instagram feed, and letting them know you heard them on JimJim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, and tell them what you got out of the episode, what you really liked, or how they inspired you. I know they would get a kick out of it and will help others find the same value that you found.